Okay, so as today will be our first lesson in Methods Unit 1 and 2, we will be learning to solve linear equations, learning to change the subject in literal equations, and learning to construct linear equations. So the first question that we'll be looking at is 5x minus 3 equals 2 in brackets 3x plus 4. Just be mindful that this part right here, the equal sign means equivalent. So with equivalent, the first thing I want us to think about is both sides are equal. It also means that whatever we do to one side, we must do to the other. So the first thing that I'm going to do is rewrite my first side, and I'm just going to expand my second side. So when I say expand, that means I am going to be timesing 2 by 3x and also timesing 2 by 4. So if I rewrite this, it will be 5x take away 3 is equal to 2 times 3x is 6x, 2 times 4 is 8. So after we've got to 5x minus 3 is equal to 6x plus 8, the next is to be able to get our like terms over. So when I'm looking at like terms, I like to underline. So I'm going to start off with my x's. I've got 5x and I have 6x. So I'm going to get my x's to my left-hand side. So that means I am going to take away 6x to both sides. Because whatever we do to one side, we must do to the other. So if I rewrite this, 5x take away 6x gives me negative x. Take away 3 is equal to 8. The next step that I'm going to be looking at is getting my constants to one side. So I'm just going to underline my constants. I've got negative 3 and I've got 8. So I'll get them to my right-hand side. So that means I'm going to do the opposite of take away 3, which is plus 3. So now I've got to simplify this. So I'll just rewrite it. The 3's are cancelled out on my left-hand side. So I'm left with negative x is equal to 8 plus 3 equals 11. There's only one thing I need to do. We do like our x's to be positive on our when it's by itself. So because it's just negative x, I'm just going to divide both sides by negative 1. That is going to make sure that I've got my x by itself, and that just means the 11 becomes negative 11. So this is your turn. Please pause the video and have a go at this question. It's a bit um, more challenging, but the same steps prevails. So the first thing I'll be doing is looking at getting rid of my brackets. So that means I'm going to expand. So I'm going to times 3 by 2x, and I'm going to times the 3 by negative 5. Likewise, on my other bracket, I will times the 2 by 3x, and I'll also times the 2 by 7. So I'm going to rewrite this. That will be 3 times 2x equals 6x, and 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. And then I'll put down the plus 4. On the other side, I've got 2 times 3x equals 6x, and I've got 2 times 7 equals 14. Take away x. So before I do anything now, I'm just going to simplify each of my sides. So I can see on my left-hand side, I've got negative 15 and I've got 4. that are like terms. And on my right-hand side, I've got 6x and I've got negative 3x. So that means on my left-hand side, I'm going to have just 6x and then negative 15 plus 4 equals negative 11. 6x take away x equals 5x. So I'm left with 5x plus 14. The final step will be getting my x's to one side. So I'll underline the x's. That means I'm going to be taking away 5x on the right hand side and taking away 5x on my left hand side. So 6x take away 5x equals x. Take away 11 is equal to 14. The next step will be to get my x's on, my constant onto the other side. So I'll underline that because it just means I'm doing the opposite of that operation. And the opposite of that operation is plus 11. So that gives me 14 plus 11 equals 25. The next question, we are dealing with a fraction. So I've got 2x plus 1 over 3, take away x minus 2 over 2 equals 1. So the same thing with this question. The first thing I would like us to do is make sure our fractions are the same. So that means looking at the size, and we know if I just point here, we've got a 3 and we've got a 2. So that means they are not the same size. We need to get them the same. So if you forget, on the side here, I'm just going to skip count 3, 6, 9, and 2, 4, 6. I'll stop because I can clearly see that 6 is the lowest common multiple. Based on that, that just means I'm going to times my first fraction by 2, so I can get it to be out of 6. Just remember what you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. Likewise, I'm going to times my other fraction by 3. So when I do it on top, just make sure you put brackets there, just so you know you're timesing everything by that amount. The next step that I'm going to do, I'm just going to rewrite it, and that's purely just so it makes it a lot easier to read. So the first thing, I'm just going to expand my first bracket. 2 times 2x equals 4x, plus 2 times 1 is 2. Take away, I'm just got this one here, I'm just going to keep it in the bracket, and I'll explain why once I've done it. So negative 3 in brackets x take away 2 over 6. Now, a common mistake here is because it's take away that fraction. Some people forget to apply this negative right here to everything inside the bracket. So I purposely left it like that, and then I'm going to finish everything off by rewriting it. So I'll continue. This is equal to 1. Now there's two things I'm going to do here. The first thing, I will take away 6 to the other side, because this 6 we are dividing by 6, so the opposite is timesing. So I can straight away put it over here and times by 6. The second thing I'm going to do in this step is expand this bracket. So to start off with, I'm just going to put equals to 6, because I've times both sides by 6, and I'll rewrite what I've got here, 4x plus 2, and then negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. Okay. The next part is I just need to simplify everything that I have here on my left-hand side. So I'm going to group the x's together, which I've just underlined in red, and I'm going to group my constants together over here. So I'll start off with my x's. 4x take away 3x is just 1x, so x. Then I'm going to change to green and go 2 plus 6 equals 8. And then I'll put the rest equals 6. The final step that I need to do is to get x by itself, which means I am going to take 8 away. So underline that. So that will give me x is equal to -2. Okay, so let's look at this question here. Guided practice. Please have a go yourself before we go through it. So we've got 5x plus 1 over 2, take away 3x minus 4 over 4 is equal to x over 3. So as likewise with the last question, we first had to look at making our denominators the same. So in this case here, we know that 2 goes into 4, sometimes in this side by 2, which means I'm timesing everything up here by 2 as well. So I'm going to rewrite this as a fraction. So that means 2 times 5x is 10x. 2 times 1 is 2 over 4. Now remember this takeaway sign applies to everything on my numerator. So that means it will be -3x and -4. So +4. And then on my other side, I've got x over 3 plus 2. So be mindful of that. It looks a bit more challenging, but the same thing applies. We can turn 2 into a fraction, and then I times the numerator and the denominator by 3, so it becomes out of 3. That gives me x plus 6 over 3. Now, if we try to get rid of our fractions, before I simplify my numerator, I know to get rid of divide by 4, I times by 4 on both sides. That just cancels this out. And then if I wanted to get rid of my divide by 3, I times by 3 and times by 3, and that cancels this out. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm just on my left-hand side, put times 3 on the outside. I'll simplify everything on the inside of my bracket. So 10x take away 3x is 7x. 2 plus 4 equals 6. And then I look at on my other side, I've got 4 in brackets x plus 6. So 3 times 7x is 21x. 6 times 3 equals 18. 4x, and then 4 times 6 equals 24. Same thing now, I just need to get all my x's to one side, so that means I will take away 4x. So 21 take away 4x equals 17x plus 18 equals 24. So I don't know what happened there. So plus 18 equals 24. And then the next thing that I will be doing is I will be getting my constant to my right-hand side, which means I will be going 17x, I'll be taking 18. So that means 24 take away 18. 24 take away 18 equals 6. And then the final part is I'm going to divide x by 17 to get my x by itself. Okay, let's look at the next question. So now we are just going to be looking at changing the subject in literal equations. So all this means is we are dealing with equations with no numbers. So it could be any of the formulas that we've learned before, likewise the one I've got on the screen now. It says to make x the subject of the equation y equals mx plus c. So this is the standard form for linear relationships. To get x by itself, we're just thinking about moving things around based on what we would have done already. So in this case here, I will be highlighting my C. That is by itself. So it's loose. I'll get it to the other side. So all I'm going to do is take away C on both sides to make it equivalent. So again, it comes back to that equivalence. That gives me Y take away C is equal to mx. The final part I'll be doing is looking at how do I get m away from x? So the operation it's using is multiply. So the opposite is we are dividing. So divide both sides by m. Is when I rewrite it, yes, I've got m by itself on the right-hand side. So m is equal to y take away c over m. Can you please rearrange this equation to make y the subject? So we've got ax plus by equals c. So the first step that I would be doing, again, is looking at where my y is and what else do I have there. So I've got ax right there. So that straight away tells me that I'm going to get rid of that. So it's plussing, the opposite of plussing is take away. So I'm just taking away ax. I can rewrite this now as I've got by is equal to c take away ax. And then finally, to get y by itself, I need to do the opposite of times, which is divide. So I divide over b. The next one, make r the subject of r equals 1 over p plus 1 over q. I'm just going to simplify this first. Make my fraction on my right-hand side just be one fraction, which means because we're talking about letter case here, to get P and Q the same, I times this one to be Q, be P, which gives me the same denominator. Plus, the next step that I will be doing here is I'm going to times both sides by R. So that all that really does, that just gives me 1 on this side, R out the front. The final step is I'm going to get R by itself, I will divide everything by that fraction. So that means R is going to be EQ plus P over PQ. But then we know if we're dividing a fraction, we can go keep, I'll write it here, keep, change, and flip. So if we are using keep, change, and flip, then I keep the one the same, I change the sign to multiply, and I flip my fraction, which then it's just going to give me the answer for R as R is equal to PQ over Q plus P. For this next question, it just says make T the subject of the formula. So in this case here, when you've got multiple terms that have T, this is actually looks more challenging, but it's actually a lot quicker and a lot easier. So for this, I'm just going to underline the T. And when I rewrite this, the first thing I do, I'm going to factorize. So I'm just taking the T out because that's what I want as my subject, not caring about anything else. And I look at what's left. Well, if I divide the first term by t, I'm left with a half ut. If I divide, sorry, don't know why I wrote t there. So half u. And then if I look at the second term and divide everything by t, I'm left with 3 over 4a. So that means if I'm wanting to get t by itself, I just divide everything by half u plus 3 over 4a. And that will then give me t t is equal to s over half u plus 3 over 4a. Now we're going to be moving on to the constructing part. Now, constructing is, I like to talk about making things visual and easier to see. So for this question here, when it says find three consecutive integers such that the sum is 78, the first thing that I like to do is just draw my lines. I'm wanting three consecutive numbers. Let's just take away the algebra. The sum is going to be 78. Now I'm going to put the algebra in. So that means I'm just going to pick my first number, my first integer to be x. To find the next one, because it's consecutive, I know it's just going to be x plus 1. And then next one will just be x plus 2. So now I've made the equation, I just need to simplify it. So how many x's do I have? I've got 3x, and I've got 1 plus 2 is 3, is equal to 78. So the first step that I will be doing is taking away 3 from both sides. That will give me 3x is equal to 75. And then finally, I'm just going to divide everything by 3. So x has to be 25. You can double check that by putting 25 into x into your formula to check if that makes sense. A mother is 3 times as old as her daughter. In 6 years, the sum of their ages will be 56. Find their current ages. So there's multiple ways we can do this. We can represent it using the Singaporean bar model, or we can draw pictures or use algebra. So the first part I'm going to read, and I'm going to underline. It says, right now, the mother is 3 times as old as her daughter. So it doesn't give us anything for the daughter. So this is where we can use it as a box. I'll call that X. And then it says the mother at the moment is going to be 3 times. So I could say 3 boxes, 1, 2, and 3. I could label this as 3 times, so X, X, and X. I'm going to with it, I'll make it more algebraic and do it as 3x for the mum, and the daughter is x. Just on the side. We can represent it multiple ways. Then it says in 6 years, the sum of the ages will be 56. So this tells me in 6 years for both of them, they'll be 6 years older. So I could really just do it algebraically and or the box method, and I'm just going to draw my boxes here. 1, 2, 3, 4. We know they're all x. I also know that they are now 6 years older. So that means both of them are 6 years older. So I know I can add 12 here. And I know the total of this is going to be 56. So to work backwards, I'm going to start off by going 56 take away 12, and that gives me 44. So that means I'm left with this part here being 44. So then the next part, I'm going to divide that between 4. And then that tells me x has to be 11. So if the daughter is 11, the mother must be 33 because it's 3 times that amount. The perimeter of a rectangle is 50 centimeters. The length is 4 centimeters longer than twice the width. Find the dimensions of the rectangle. Okay, so this is where before we do anything, we just draw it as a picture. So I'm drawing a rectangle. The first thing I'm going to do now is put the information on about the length. So it says the length is 4 centimeters longer than twice the width. So I don't know what width is, I'll name that X. And then 4 centimeters longer than twice the width. So twice the width will be 2 times X, 4 centimeters longer, 2X plus 4. The next step that I'm going to be doing is looking at the next piece of information. It says the perimeter of a rectangle is 50 centimeters. So I know P equals 50. Perimeter means the outside. So I need to know 4 sides. That means if this is X, this side over here is X. If this side here is 2X plus 4, then this side here is 2X plus 4. I'm just going to write it on because it means it's a lot easier to calculate. So if I'm going to write my equation now, I know my perimeter is 50 is equal to, how many x's do I have? 2, 4, 5, 6. So 6 x's. And then I'm left with how many constants? 8. So the first thing I'm going to do is take away 8 from both sides. And that will give me 42 is equal to 6x. The final thing I'm going to do is do the opposite of timesing by 6, which is dividing by 6. So 42 divided by 6 equals 7. So that means the dimensions of the rectangle, my width is 7, and I use that 7 for my length. 2 times 7 is 14. 14 plus 4 equals 18. The next question we're going to be looking at. The difference between two numbers is 12. 3 times the smaller number plus twice the larger number equals 54. Find the two numbers. So the difference between two numbers, we don't know what they are. So let's just label them as A minus B equals 12. Okay, the next part, it says 3 times the smaller number plus twice the larger number equals 54. So the next thing that I'm going to do is just underline my two numbers in different colors. A will be the big number, and in green, B will be the small number because I'm taking that away. So it says 3 times the smaller number. So 3 times the small number will be 3B plus 2 times the large number, 2 times A is equal to 54. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get A to be by itself just because it looks easier. So I'm just going to, above here, take plus B to both sides to make it as 12 plus B. And I'll substitute that in as my A value now. So I'm doing a bit of simultaneous equations that we would have learnt last year in year 10 that you will be going over again this year. So I've got 3B plus 2 in brackets, 12 plus B is equal to 54. The next step that I will do is I'm going to expand my brackets. 3B plus 2 times 12 is 24, plus 2B is equal to 54. I'm going to add my b's together. 3B plus 2B equals 5B, plus 24 is equal to 54. And then I'm going to take away 24 from both sides, which will give me 30. So 5B is equal to 30. And then I will divide both sides by 5, which will give b is equal to 6. So if I substitute that into my equation above, a would just have to be 12 plus 6, which is 18. Okay, so we'll stop there for this. Please go through this multiple times if you need to, and then jump through to the next video. Thank you.